here. I'd like to call this meeting of the Clay County Commission to order. We will begin with our invocation, so if everyone would please stand. Tonight's invocation will be from Commissioner Lawson, but before we recognize her for the invocation, I would like us all to take a moment of silence in memory of the events of 9/11.
Dear Heavenly Father, please be with us today on this particular day. Be with the families of those who lost people during the 9/11. Please, Lord, protect this nation. We're seeing so much violence as we experienced yesterday with a young man who had no malice towards anyone to be shot down in cold blood. Be with his family. Help them through this time of need. Dear Lord, protect our country. Help us to try to look at the other side and be more open to people with different ideas than ours, and look at a way to discuss with those people versus using violence. Be with our first responders as they go out and do their job. Please protect our men and women who are serving this country in foreign lands or in this country. Bring those that are overseas back home safe to their families. Protect our nation, dear God. Protect our president and all of our elected officials. Please help us as a body to make decisions that are good for the folks that we serve and not have any personal help, anything that would give us a better any kind of a better life. That we are here to serve the public. Make sure that we're doing that the proper way. Give us strength, give us wisdom, and help us to make the right decisions. We pray all this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Please join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte?
Here.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Here.
Commissioner Wagner?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes. Here.
Commissioner Thompson? Here. Commissioner Carpenter?
Here.
Next is approval of this evening's agenda. Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of this evening's agenda. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. That brings us to ceremonial matters. We have two ceremonial matters. Mr. Administrator, would you go ahead and introduce the first one?
Yes, I'd like to introduce our first ceremonial matter, recognition of Northland Career Center contribution. We have Bridget Mendoza, which is administrator for that program. She'll take it from there.
I'll tell you what, if you would like to go ahead and make comments to start with, and we'll have any questions or comments from the commission, then we'll go ahead and do the check thing.
First of all, this is Jeff Green. Jeff Green is in charge of the Career Center. He is our director of it.
Would you speak more into the mic, please? There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
It was high. This is Jeff Green. He is the director of the Career Center, and he will be taking over the classes at the new Northland Workforce Development Center. He is the one that makes everything happen for all of the kids. Right. So we're very, very excited. We want to say thank you very much for the investment and the support that the commission has provided to the Northland Career Center. And hence, we have a big check presentation. We would like to do a photo to commemorate what the commission has done. And also, your logo has now been placed on the wall for the design when the new Career Center is built. So we're very, very excited about it.
Thank you. I mean, we are all thrilled to see this project going forward. Certainly, a number of us were at the groundbreaking earlier for that ceremony where we had former Governor Parson and others. So it was quite a great turnout. And then, of course, at the Clay County EDC NEBA, that is to say Northland Education Business Association meeting earlier this week, we got to see photos where, in fact, our logo is proudly displayed, which we're very pleased with, and we're pleased to be able to support such a great leap forward as far as preparing young people, and others for that matter,
Yes.
for careers, whether it's their first career or second career. This is going to be a great addition to both our workforce and the companies and businesses that depend on that workforce to be able to do the business that is so vital to keep our county moving.
And the other thing that I do want to share with you is I had a very lengthy discussion with our previous governor, Mike Parson, and he was very, very happy to hear that Clay County government has stood up to the plate and has done something, and he's hoping the other county commissions will follow suit with you guys, but he thinks you guys have set a precedent for others to follow suit as well.
If I may too, I'm a Clay County resident myself, and so I know I work for the Platte County School District, but I am also very proud and have lived, I actually live 4 miles from where I grew up here in the Northland. So just wanted to make sure I let you know that we are representing both counties very well, so thank you.
Would anyone else like to make any comments on this subject before we do the check ceremony? Seeing none, let's go ahead and put that together.
That's true. That is true.
Those large checks are always rather fun. With that, we will now move to the second item under ceremonial matters. Mr. Administrator, if you could go ahead and introduce that item.
Our next item is 2025-266, honorary resolution of appreciation of emergency first responders on the anniversary of 9/11 of being done by our commission. We also have our Sheriff, Will Aiken, here as well.
Mr. Sheriff, if you'd like to say a few words, you certainly are very welcome.
Good evening, Commission. Will Aiken, Sheriff of Clay County. I wasn't planning on saying anything, but since I have the opportunity, I will say a few words. On this day, 24 years ago now, we lost 343 firefighters, 72 police officers when they responded to the World Trade Center being attacked, when our country was attacked. And despite all the things that happened into our country across the years, we still have men and women who serve our communities faithfully, despite everything that has happened, despite the constant scrutiny that we're under in the media, the social media, we still do our job because it's a calling. But I just want to take a moment to thank you for having a resolution recognizing and just honoring the memories of those 343 firefighters and 72 police officers that rushed to the World Trade Center. Not just the ones that were responding, but the ones that were off duty that responded regardless. and just to honor them. So thank you very much for doing that. And I think it's safe for me to say that on behalf of all public safety professionals, we'll continue to do our job. Thank you.
That was, Mr. Chef, why we wanted to present the resolution to yourself, because in our minds, you are, our connection to that greater world of selfless public servants and people who are truly willing, as you say, to run into danger. There's no way around it. That is, the instinct for most of us is to run away from danger. The folks that you are representing here are people who will run to danger on behalf of the rest of us. And there is no measure of gratitude that we can express. So this is just our way of saying thank you to you as not only as a great public servant, but as a representative of so many public servants everywhere. So would anyone else care to comment? Commissioner? No, there's no problem. Please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think if you ask anybody, where were you when President Kennedy was assassinated, if you were alive or young enough or old enough to remember? And it's the same way with this 911. If you think about it, you know exactly where you were. I was sitting in my office, and I could see the TV out the side of my door. And when that first plane hit, I thought, some idiot is out here flying around, probably, showing people that didn't live in New York the whole layout, and ran into that building. And then that second plane hit. And the thing that I will never get out of my mind was when you saw those people leaping from that building as it burned. That kept me up for nights. You just kept seeing that and thinking, how bad did it have to be for them to take that step? And they had a choice, this or this. So, but, for all of those individuals who, as you said, rushed into the building when everybody else was getting out, you just can't even fathom the dedication that it took to do that. And they knew, a lot of them had to know, they may not get out alive, but it didn't stop them. They went in anyway. So I think for all of them and all of their families, we never, ever forget what happened. We always keep it in our minds and realize how fortunate we are to be in this country, even though things like this happen. And you hope that it never happens again. And it's people like your folks and all law enforcement that make it a safer place to be. So thank you for that. And God bless America.
Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Lawson's right. That's one of those days you don't forget where you were, what was going on. Excuse me. I remember specifically, I was a police officer at the time. Actually, I was a lieutenant in charge of the Special Enforcement Section in a police department in LA County. So I was on the other side of the country when this was going on. But I got a call. I was still asleep when it happened. I got a call from my boss and said, "Did you hear what happened?" I said, "No." He said, "Turn on your TV." "What channel?" "Doesn't matter. It's on every channel." I turned it on and I was shocked. Matter of fact, I think I turned it on in time to see the second plane. But nonetheless, it was incredible. And I was called in to work that day to write an operations order for war, one that's never been written before. An operation orders for war, and a different kind of war, a war on terror. And one of the things we had to do is we had to act like we were terrorists and find every single vulnerability we can find in our city. Everything from communications vulnerabilities to water, our water storage. We had our own water department at the time. And you name it, the banking institutions, everything. Where large crowds gather, and we had in the city I worked in, we had places for very large. We had the Grand Prix every year that had over 200,000 people in attendance on a weekend. We had a big arena and convention center. So I had a plan for all those contingencies and how to harden those targets, and ended up putting together an operations order that was literally about 6 inches thick when it was done. The biggest operation order that's ever been written in our city's history at the time in LA County. But it's funny because you remember that, but I talk about that with my kids, and my kids none of them were born yet. So they have no clue. They have no idea, except for what they can, read about now, but to know the feeling of what happened that day and the sense throughout the nation of what took place. And the sheriff mentioned, the 343 firefighters and the 72 police officers. Those are the ones that died that day. There are dozens and dozens more that died after that as a result of that. And what's interesting is just last week, my son's a firefighter now, firefighter paramedic. And just last week, he's done this every year so far that he's been a firefighter for 3 years now. He does their stair climb, where every one of them takes the name of one of those firefighters that has fallen. And they walk up to the beginning of the stairs, they ring the bell, and they say the name of that firefighter. And they in full gear, their packs and everything, which is weigh a ton, they make the trek up. I forget how many flights they do.
I think it's 110 flights.
Yeah, 110 flights. 110 flights of stairs that they walk up, or they try and run up that thing. But it's pretty impressive to watch and to see. It's kind of a very emotional thing if you even watch the videos about it. But it helps, I think, people like him who weren't there and the younger generation to stop and pause and think about what happened. And to think about when you have that many firefighters in the stairs on this stair climb, that's how many firefighters died that day. And add 72 police officers to that. And you talk about the people that run into it. One of the things that first responders and the fire department, and particularly police departments and sheriff's offices do is they recruit and look for and train people sometimes based on fight or flight. And we want the people, when it comes to fight or flight, that instead of fleeing, they fight. And those were the people that were there that day, the ones that fight, the ones that run towards the problem, to fix the problem. And, I can never say enough things about it. That's why I'll always fight. I will always fight for pay increases for those things, for benefits for those folks, because I just can't say enough good things about what they. And I was talking to my son the other day. He's a firefighter. I come from a large family of police officers. He's the only firefighter, first and only firefighter in our family. So you can imagine the razzing that's going on, the jokes and the friendly jokes. We talk about, his recliner and the time he sits there and getting paid to sleep and that kind of stuff. But we had a serious conversation for a brief moment, and I told him, because he's a paramedic as well, and I said, you're not getting paid for sitting in the chair. You're getting paid for what you're expected to do when things hit the fan. You're expected to perform and expected to know how to perform when major things happen. And for paramedics, it's not like you're in an ER where you have a trauma surgeon by to help you out. You have nurses by to help you out. You have people telling you what meds to push and helping you push those meds. No, it's this 20-year-old kid that's out there on his own. And in this case, I don't know, various of ages of men and women that were out there. They're out there just trying to do what they were called to do. And that's what those first responders get paid for. Unfortunately, they lost their lives doing it. But I certainly appreciate, and I will never forget exactly where I was and that feeling I had and what happened. It's almost surreal. Your brain just doesn't comprehend it when you see those things happen. You see those bodies jumping out of the building. It's like it just doesn't compute. You don't see those things, and it's just really hard to even fathom. But it was real, unfortunately, and we should never ever forget that.
I'm especially glad, Commissioner Lawson, that you brought this up, and Commissioner Johnson, that you followed up, and that was people relating where they were at the time when that attack happened. Because one of the things that I came across was perhaps as many as a third of Americans were not alive, or were not old enough to be aware of what was going on at that time. And it makes you kind of think in terms of, are we going to forget? And that's why we do these things. That's why we're doing this resolution. That's why we're sharing these stories, because this is part of our common culture, and this is what defines us as people, is how we as a nation and a people react to these sorts of things. I myself was a teacher at the time, and I was preparing my classroom for the first class. The students that were there early were watching TV, unfortunately, and having their snacks and that sort of thing. And so I mean, that was something that I don't know how many of them quite understood what was going on, but it's something that it does stick with you. We remember those things. We remember, those of us who are old enough, where we were when the Challenger explosion took place, that tragedy, when man first walked on the moon. So I mean, these are part of our culture, and this is what makes us the America that we are, which I think is something that is very, very special. Would anyone else care to make any comments before we present the resolution? Seeing none, Mr. Sheriff will come down, and if you wouldn't mind accepting this on behalf of so many others.
I'd be honored. Thank you.
Okay, that was certainly the gambit of joyful and somber kind of subject matter there. Next on our agenda are public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the commission on any issues that might be of interest or importance to them? Seeing none. That brings us to our consent agenda. Mr. Administrator?
Yes, our consent agenda. Consent agenda tonight is, we have 4 items on it. 2025-264 is approval of invoice payments for Clay County for the period of August 30th through September 5th. We have 279 invoices totaling $1,705,952.73. The next one is 2025 Ordinance 20, reappropriate and revise the adopted budget for the current year of $30,000, increasing available funds to purchase an ADA-compliant van for inmate transport through the Sheriff's Office. The next one is 2025-260, approval of proposal for culvert improvement project, culvert number 136B-C1 at 120th Street and Hills Road. Decker Construction would be the contractors through the Road and Bridge Department. The next one is 2025-261, approval of proposal for culvert improvement project, culvert 327B-C2 on Clementine Road, north of 132nd Street. Again, Decker Construction would be the contractor. Those are the 4 items today for consent agenda.
Thank you very much. I do not intend to take anything off, but I do want to highlight something on there, and that is the van for inmate transport. Something that occurs to me whenever tragedy strikes is this is an extraordinarily dangerous service that the sheriff and his folks render. I see it on here, and it's important, and it's fine to be on consent, but we need to realize that this is a point of great hazard for some of our deputies, and being able to provide the proper equipment, I think, is totally vital. With that, Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda. Further discussion? Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington? Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
That brings us to our regular agenda. Mr. Administrator, I believe we have one item under that heading.
Yes, we have one item tonight on the regular agenda. 2025-265, approval of invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office from the period of August 30th to September 5th. We have 13 invoices totaling $8,418.25.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-265.
Motion has been made for the approval of 2025-265. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson?
I recuse myself.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Withington? Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
That concludes our regular agenda items, or I should say item. That brings us to discussion. There are two items under discussion items. Mr. Administrator, would you please introduce the first?
Sure. Our first one is our healthcare benefits renewal presentation. Tonight, we'll just be presenting to you the items regarding renewal. The actual program, the actual resolution will come back to you next week regarding that. So we have, I guess she had theme music to bring her up. We have Kim Callahan as our HR director will be the presentation for the employee benefit program.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Kim Callahan, Clay County HR Director. I'm here to talk to you tonight about the 2026 Employee Benefit Program. I also have Maggie Knutson and Eric Munninghoff from CBiz, our brokers. They're here to help answer questions also. So first, we're going to start with who are our employees? Well, right now, we have 72 baby boomers. Those are people that are between 61 and 79. And the boomer generation, that's the generation that told kids to come home when the night lights came on, or if you're in the rural, come home when it's dark. And Generation X, we have 214 people. Those are the people that are 45 to 60. Okay, and that's the Generation X are the ones that started the helicopter parenting style. So I thought that was interesting. So our millennials, or Generation Y, we have 194 of those. Those are people 44 to 59. And then Gen Z, last but not least, we have 107. Those are 15 to 28. Of course, we don't have any 15-year-olds, but that's the lowest range. So right now, how many men and women, does anyone want to take a guess that we might have working for us? Okay. Right now, we have 310 men, and we have 250 women. Our largest department is the Sheriff's Office, and they have 146 males and 78 females. Following that is Juvenile Department that has 21 males and 56 females. Parks Department has 41 males, 8 females. Road and Bridge, 21 males and 4 females. And then the Prosecutor's Office, there's 16 males and 32 females. Those are our largest departments. I just thought that was interesting. Oops, wrong way. Okay, so we have the same plans this year. We have our Cost Plus plans, the SpiroCare high deductible plan. We have the Preferred Care Blue high deductible plan and the Blue Select Plus EPO. So the plan changes this year will be the increase in the Spira and the Preferred Care high deductible plan. And that is per the IRS requirement. So this goes through and shows the 3 different plans and the increase that the individual will go from $3,300, that's a deductible, to $3,400 on the SpiroCare and Preferred Care. And on the family, it will go from $6,600 to $6,800. That's the SpiroCare and the Preferred Care plan. And that is per the IRS. So what we're looking at this year, the initial 2026 Blue KC Cost Plus renewal funding at expected claim liability, it first was proposed at a 19.2 increase. Okay, then CBiz was able to negotiate a 2.2 reduction, bringing the final renewal funding to a 17.4 increase. Okay, so due to the changes this year, the compensation and classification implementation, a new administrator, and a goal for the potential COLA and first step increase, and after collaboration between County Administrator Hodges and the budget team, and also based on direction from the Commission, we are recommending renewing with Blue Cross Blue Shield, with the county absorbing the 17.3 increase, which is $1.2 million. And this would be no additional cost to employees. Okay, this measure would be a one-time occurrence, not establishing a precedent for future renewals, and will enhance morale and reinforce the county's position as an employer of choice. Okay, so this shows that the current, this is the 2026 health plan rates, and yellow is what the county will pay, green is what the employees pay. And you'll see that, you can see the monthly plan, what each of us will put in. Let's see. Okay, dental and vision stays the same. Life A&D and voluntary life and our LTD, our rates are guaranteed through 2027, so all of that stays the same this year. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to get into the financial analysts of this, and I am going to have Maggie, here's a brilliant news number person, come up and go over just a couple of pages, and then I'll be back.
All right, good evening. I'm Maggie Knutson. I am with CBiz. So as Kim mentioned, it's a pretty significant increase this year. A couple of things maybe to address there is as to the why behind such a big increase. We do have a few very large ongoing claims that are projected to be ongoing for as long as those individuals are covered under the health plan. A couple of them are over $1 million apiece. So what has happened over the past 3 years, in June of 23, the county had 6 large claims over $100,000 that exceeded your pooling point, and they totaled $1.5 million. And then June of 2024, the county had 8 large claims over $100,000, totaling $2.5 million. As of today, the county has 11 large claims over $100,000, totaling $3.5 million. And of that $3.5 million, Blue Cross is writing off almost $2.4 million of it in their stop loss premium. And so the entire increase is really in the stop loss funding. They're asking for that increase in the stop loss to cover the projected ongoing expenses that are going to be absorbed going forward with these large claimants, okay? Now, to get into the financials here, breaking that down, you can see starting with 2025, with the employee premiums, employees are paying about 10% of the overall premium, and the county is funding 89% of the total premium. So that's about $6.3 million to the county, $685,000 to the employees. And then retiree and COBRA participants also have their portion that they're paying. It equates to about 1%, so about $75,000. So all in, the county is at about $7.1 million for 2025. And then projecting that for 2026 with the increase, the intent of keeping the employee cost flat, so shifting no cost to the employees and the county picking up that full increase. That would still be $685,000 for the employees. The county would be $7.5 million, and then the COBRA and retiree participants do see an increase because they pay 100% of those premiums on their own. So all in about $8.3 million for 2026. Now looking at the bottom section there, the expenditures, when we look at one of the provisions of your health plan is that it does have a maximum claim liability where your claims are capped. So these numbers are going to reflect that maximum claim liability. For 2025, it's at $6 million. For 2026, it's also at $6 million. Blue Cross feels confident that the amount that is funded for your claims, that they do not feel your claims are actually going to increase. It's that stop loss charge where they're increasing their funding. So they feel like you are adequately funded for your claims, but they do need the increase on that stop loss premium. So that stop loss premium comes under that next bucket, which is the fixed dollars. Right now, you're about $2 million in on your fixed costs, and then that would increase to $2.9 million for 2026. So all in, about $8.9 million at your maximum claim liability. The county does not fund at your maximum claim liability, but that's just to have that number in your budget to make sure if that worst case scenario played out, you would be adequately funded for that. And then this is just going to show you a 5-year history of the funding, what the county has funded and what employees have funded. And over the last few years, it's been about 89%. In 2022, there was a little bit of a dip. There was some directive from the commission because the county was funding so much, almost 95% of the total premium, which is extremely competitive compared to other counties and other municipalities in the greater Kansas City area. The directive was to kind of back off of that a little bit. So that's where you see that little bit of a decrease after 2022, but it's pretty much stabilized since then. So by and large, the county is funding the majority of the overall cost for the health plan, and the employees have I don't want to say a small share because the share that they pay out of their paycheck is pretty significant, but it's a small piece of that overall funding. And then lastly, this is the contribution strategy. It shows you the 3 plans. So you have your Spira high deductible health plan, your Preferred Care Blue high deductible health plan, and you have your Blue Select Plus EPO plan. The total premium is reflected there, and you see that the total at the funding, where the county will place the funding, is I can't see that, 8.3 million, I believe is what that says. And of that, the county would fund just over about 7.5 million. Employee costs would remain the same as what it is today. So no increase to employees, and the county absorbing the full brunt of that increase. Okay. All right. You're welcome.
Does anybody have any questions on what was
I
just
have
presented?
one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
And then we
Go
can open
ahead.
up for
Okay.
questions if you don't mind. Just
Sure,
one
go
more
ahead.
thing I want to, okay. Because, yeah. So the last item I wanted to discuss is we're asking for the commission to approve we want to engage AmWins to conduct a comprehensive dependent eligibility audit for Clay County for our health and benefits plans for the 2026 year. Why is an audit necessary? An audit eliminates ineligible dependents. It might remove individuals from the plan who do not qualify. It protects us against noncompliance and ensures that we adhere to plan rules and carrier or regulatory requirements. It promotes fairness, confirms that only eligible employees and their qualified dependents receive benefits. So let's see, where is that? So how does it work? So what will happen is, over open enrollment, we will start talking to employees that in 26 we're going to start an audit. And AmWins will communicate to the employees via email, voicemail, or mail the information that they're going to need. They're going to go to their website and they're going to enter their information, and then AmWins will send them the documentation that they need to provide for their kids or stepkids or that information. So they also have a call center available to assist with any answers for the employees. So when this is done, the AmWins will provide to us either just a pass or fail for the employee. And if it has happened to found that there's an ineligible dependent, then it would be retroed back to January the 1st. But when we start talking about this during open enrollment, this is going to happen next year, it gives everyone the chance to, during open enrollment, make sure they have the correct people on their plans. So that will be a separate RCA that I will present to you next week. So let's see. So right now, our open enrollment timeline, we're going to start communications October 21st. Our open enrollment meetings will be October 27th and October 29th. And open enrollment will actually be from October 27th through November 7th. So now I can open it up to questions.
Any questions, Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and thanks for coming this evening. This is my third time hearing it. I believe it's usually at this time where I say, maybe a self-funded system may not be a bad idea when you're seeing rises like this. I would note that when I read the Wall Street Journal this morning, it prepared me for tonight because I believe the average increase is about 18.6%, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just going to leave that self-funded piece on the table because I've talked about it. I'll probably talk about it again next year. Where my concern really is, I think, is more with the stop-loss fund, and I understand why it's driving it. It does occur to me, though, that in an employee system of roughly 560 individuals, that we have a handful that apparently is driving this cost year over year. So my question is, generally, how are we attacking that issue, and what is, without the names, without the departments and those sorts of things, what is driving that particular issue? Because it would strike me that we will have a very similar conversation next year.
Yes. Well, right now, most of the majority of our people have less than $2,500 in claims per year. But the ones that are driving the most, I mean, these are, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to let her address that because she has a direct line with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
All right, so what is, it's a great question. So without going into too much detail, we do know there are two very large claimants. They are combined about $2 million. They are ongoing, lifelong conditions. The cost of those particular claims increased, almost doubled in the last 2 years because the treatment that they require for that diagnosis, the cost has increased for that. Mm-hmm. And this isn't something that they can choose to go without.
Sure.
It's essential for life for them. Mm-hmm. That is, as long as those individuals are covered under the health plan, that is a projected cost that is included in your claims ongoing, mm-hmm. indefinitely.
So is it safe to say then that these conditions that are driving those costs are things that are not associated with the type of work or the work environment or anything like that, whether you want to call them pre-existing or just they got older and then this thing happened and it mm-hmm. popped up, that these are the things that they're experiencing? That's what's causing that?
Yes, these are not lifestyle choice conditions for
mm-hmm.
these largest claims. These are hereditary type of conditions that are unavoidable. Mm-hmm. And that's ultimately what a group health plan is there to do, to share that risk and to help absorb that cost so that those individuals who are experiencing those life events are not actually funding those millions of dollars.
Gotcha.
themselves.
So appreciate that. So maybe one more question and then one thought, because I seem to have them. The question is, I have a feeling that no one else came even close to a better price point than what we have out of Blue Cross.
Mm-hmm. So we did go out to market. Mm-hmm. We did get a couple of proposals. Aetna came in at about 17.2%, and United Healthcare came in at a 28% increase. Cigna declined to quote. We did look at a self-funded option mm-hmm. with Blue Cross. It was actually going to be higher cost than what the renewal was going to be.
Okay.
So we kind of set that aside because it is something we continually evaluate each year to figure out when is the right time to make that move. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is a little bit reassuring, knowing what we're seeing with the claims. Typically, if a carrier was concerned with a significant increase in your claims in the future, they would have put that into your funding. Mm-hmm. That they did not ask for any increase in the funding of your claim or suggest an increase in the funding of your claims. Mm-hmm. Given that the pricing, also our independent actuarial did a preliminary pricing and it came in at 17.3% increase, that was back in May. And this Aetna came in about the same ballpark. It gives us some confidence that with this increase, it should help the plan to stabilize mm-hmm. So that we aren't looking at this year over year. The market nationally is experiencing a big hit this mm-hmm. year, individual and group health plans.
Yeah. Appreciate the answer to that and that you looked at the self-funded option. Appreciate mm-hmm. that. My final I guess I'll call it a suggestion. And of course, this is all about managing risk, and the ability to have the large pool is what mitigates that risk across everyone. I guess I'm wondering if it would ever make any sense for us to partner with other jurisdictions to increase the size of the pool and therefore perhaps find savings across all of it. But I'm not sure if it would, based on the stop loss fund, if that would even matter. But I just throw it out there to say, if you're going to see rises like that, and I hope it does stabilize to your point, but perhaps there's a conversation to be had at some point about how you grow the pool, which we can't hire all those people, so maybe finding some others who want to join in a pool may make some sense. I'll just throw it out there for whatever that's worth, but I appreciate your answers and your due diligence. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Something that I kind of took from what you said was that if there was an anticipation that we would have more high-dollar claims, that would have been factored into the bids that were solicited, and that did not seem to have been the case. So I take that to mean, and please correct me if I'm making a wrong assumption, that given the size of pool of participants in the plan, we are pretty much in a, I don't know, average might not be the right word, but we are within normal expectations as far as number of high-dollar claims for the number of participants we have in the plan. Is that fair to say?
I would say the number of high-dollar claims falls in line with what we see for like-size employers. The dollar amount is significantly higher. We don't see 1.2 million with every group. It's not uncommon to see $400,000, $500,000 occasionally. So I would say that you do have a couple that are much higher. But what it comes down to for the county is, are you adequately funded for that claim exposure on your plan? And that is what Blue Cross and the rest of the market has really shown us. It's the stop-loss premium that needs to increase, but the actual claim funding part of it, that tells us that they don't see, and they have all that insight in those medical records. They have all this information behind the scenes that we don't have access to. But that's how they project that future cost. If they saw something emerging on the plan, new risk coming onto the plan, a significant increase expected in someone's treatment, they would have projected that in your claim exposure for the next year. And that increase is not coming up as a necessary increase for 26.
Thank you. We've had that discussion in past years, and I was just wondering if the status had changed. And like I say, I took from what you had said that, and thank you for clarifying that and putting in a little bit more direct terms. So that was, we try to look down the road and see what we can as far as any bumps in the road, something we should prepare for. Mm-hmm. So thank you for interpreting the information.
Yeah.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thanks. Just one question for Director Callahan, I think. On the AMWINS, you said we're going to discuss that next week as a...
Well, it'll be on the agenda for you to vote on it.
Right.
If you have more questions, now's the time to ask.
Yeah, okay, so one question, and it's okay if the answer is next week too. So
Okay.
just on that last bullet point about dependents who are determined to be not eligible, that it would be sort of retro applied to January 1.
Mm-hmm.
A is how long into the year would that determination be made? How many months into the year? And then B would be like, what does that mean if claims have already been made to retroactively apply it to January 1?
Okay, well, they're planning on conducting it in the first quarter. And as far as, if we're looking at the first 3 months, the first quarter, and then it would be retro back if we found, but that's why we're going to talk about it during open enrollment and give people a chance to not enroll. And and I don't know this is going on. It's just, this is, what you do. We haven't had an audit in 10 years or before that, So it's something that we need to do. If we ever do self-fund, we have to have an audit before we would even go there, mm-hmm. To be compliant. So, and it's not going to be invasive, and the reason we want to use another firm is because that's what they do. They know the forms. We get a marriage license in Spanish, and so they know the forms that are required, and it's not going to be invasive to people. They'll work with them, so.
Yeah, I got you. Good to know. I wouldn't want to overly burden people with too demanding of paperwork
No.
demands. But let's say somebody does intentionally or even conceivably unintentionally have somebody on there and claims are made. When we're saying we're going to retroactively go back to January 1, does that mean they have to somehow pay the money back, or how would that work?
Well, do you know, Maggie? Not ever having conducted one.
Sure.
Yes, so what ultimately what would occur is once the audit is complete, anybody who has someone on the health plan, that'd be medical or dental, that is not eligible would then be terminated and then retro to January 1. So if they paid any premium, which they would if they have a spouse or dependent child, then they would be refunded that premium that they paid out of their paycheck because that individual is not going to be covered. They're going to be terminated retro to January 1. Any claims that were paid out on behalf of that individual would be reprocessed and denied. So I actually go out and I do the open enrollment meetings, and we go to each location. This is going to be one of the main things that we communicate to discourage if there is anybody who questions or knows that they have someone who does not meet. We'll make it clear what an eligible dependent is. And if they are not sure, they can reach out and ask questions. If they know, they would be best not to put that person on the plan January 1st. That's what we would encourage.
Yeah, thank you. No, that is helpful to know. I just, you all mentioned, we have, sometimes these claims are quite large, and, you wouldn't want somebody in a situation where they had quite a large set of claims in Q1, and then all of a sudden they're told that that's not going to be covered, and maybe they're like bankrupted by it, that size of claims, right? So, but if it's going to be made, I guess, super abundantly clear that everybody needs to be on top of that, I suppose we can be confident in that.
Yeah, and just to kind of reiterate, I mean, our intention is not, we want to try to make sure everyone is covered, but also make sure it's covered the correct way. And there has been some changes the past years regarding coverage, so we want to make sure it's clear, as we talk to Maggie and our staff, that they'll make sure it's clear that when everyone's signing up, who can be signed up, what you have, as far as who considered to be a dependent. Try to make sure that's very clear. I want to say that, let's reiterate, you guys give a very robust insurance plan, a health benefits, and like Maggie just mentioned, it's very competitive with the fact that we're taking up such a large amount for the employees. And on my behalf, and as for the employees, we appreciate that you all have decided as a commission to make it a mission to reach out and make it more of a place of employment for employees. So taking that into consideration, we have to also look at, are we doing it the right way, and are we covering those funds and doing it the right way? And so this amount this is not an every year thing, but it's something you need to do periodically to make sure everyone is doing it the right way. So.
Understood. Thanks.
And I might also add, this is a one-time thing, one-time audit with the intent that any future dependents that come onto the plan, a newborn, someone gets married, each time someone wants to add that dependent to the plan, they would provide the proper documentation, that proof of documentation, so that then moving forward, we know every single person coming onto the plan meets eligibility.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, just real quick, I thought I'd share a little bit of a reality check for a lot of the employees that may not understand what it's like to have to buy health insurance on your own. I too have Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I have to pay for it myself. If you don't know, the commissioners don't have any health, except for the presider, don't have any health coverage through the county. And our salary is about $39,000 a year, I think, is what we're making right about now. I have to buy it because I don't have a spouse that has a job with insurance. So I buy Blue Cross Blue Shield on my own. For my family, my salary is $39,000. That's gross. I don't bring that home. I was just notified that my health insurance will go up to now over $40,000 a year for my family. So I'm paying out of pocket over $40,000 a year for the same insurance. So let that sink in for a minute. So health insurance is out of control. It's just ridiculous how much we pay in insurance. And some people are getting pretty fat off this, getting pretty rich off this. But nonetheless, when you look at paying $40,000 a year plus, you look at these numbers, I'd take this any day. So And I'm all for paying that portion of that whatever amount it was to keep the employee portion down, because it's just too out of control as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would any other commissioners like to make comment or question? Seeing none, it would appear that, Mr. Administrator, are you requesting any action or consensus from the commission on this issue?
No action tonight. We'll bring the actual agreement next week to our next business meeting, along with the agreement regarding MNs and the audit, medical audit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That brings us to our second discussion item, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, sir. Second discussion item is regarding the Clay Plaque Ray Mental Health Board discussion. It was mentioned last week. Commissioner Whittington mentioned it last week, and Presiding Commissioner Nolte reached out and have some additional information regarding that.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and start this off. What I would like to be able to accomplish during this discussion is essentially give all commissioners an orientation as far as where we are at, what the situation is, and so that we have the ability to make some intelligent decisions going forward, some informed decisions. The other is, I think it would be a good outcome if we could ask the auditor and the administrator to do some research on this so that we have a snapshot of what the present situation is with that particular board, so that we again have up-to-date and actual information. I think what I'd like to do is kind of start with County Council. My understanding is that with the resolution that was passed by the Platte County Commission, my understanding was it started a 2-year clock ticking. So I'd like to kind of get a little bit more focused view of that. My conversations with the presiding over there, they seem to be looking at funding through the 2026 budget year. So I would like to just get some clarification, and rather than what everybody thinks, if you could kind of give us an idea of what the state of the law is on that, any other relevant point, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, appreciate that, Commissioner. Quick history lesson, 1980, Clay County, Platte County, Ray County, all citizens voted to implement the mental health levy. The statute, in addition to allowing each county to do that, also allowed the counties to join cooperatively to form a district, or whatever term you'd like to use, and pool resources and pull the services that they could provide. That was done the next year. So in 1981, that agreement was in place, and we're year 44 of that agreement, basically. The statute allows, and the resolution was done on Monday, and I was able to pull it. The statute allows any of those 3 counties to essentially voluntarily withdraw from the 3-county agreement. Importantly, that doesn't mean that the levy, the tax that was voted on by any group of people would go away. So as an example, the zoo board, my belief is if any individual county at this point pulled out of that, the entire board dissolves, because the way the statute is written. That doesn't happen here. I would assume that if Platte County also wants to get rid of their levy, they would have to go back to their voters. So under the statute, so they made the decision to pull out of the 3-county grouping. Under the statute, what happens is we need to start a process with them to put together a plan for the equitable adjustment and division of the assets, property, debts, and obligations of the board, of the 3 counties that are using this. That needs to start. I mean, it's obviously not entirely urgent, but it does need to start. The statute also provides for a 2-year process, essentially, to transfer this. Platte County cannot leave this week, next year even. Essentially, it's a 2-year process. And so that's what the statute says. That's where we are. Certainly my recommendation is that our staff and their staff start talking about the equitable distribution of assets. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if there are vehicles owned. I think the vast majority of what is happening are agreements with providers, healthcare providers. And that, I assume, will be a fairly simple process. At some point, once we know that, then I think it'll be a good time for this commission to talk about how we want to proceed, because we obviously also have choices, how we want to proceed in the future. Again, that part in particular is not urgent. I think it's important to understand how the current board will change before we talk about what the next iteration might look like. But that's where we are, and happy to answer any questions.
We are, of course, 3-county partnership. When you'd mentioned that there would be some kind of negotiation, some kind of an agreement reached between ourselves and Platte, would Ray County also be in that mix because they are one of the member counties?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think it's going to come down to who has assets, who has property. I don't know if there is any property other than these contracts. And then the contracts will have to do an adjustment with the providers. And that's when we'll want to talk about how we want those contracts to look. Because obviously a 3-county grouping with Clay, Platte, and Ray, we're by far the biggest county, but Platte's a big county. A 2-county grouping with us and Ray is substantially different animal. I suspect Ray probably doesn't even have anywhere near the same level of services they can provide. But they obviously have people who need services. And so my guess is most of Ray County's folks actually come to Clay for services. So that, again, that's a process that happens once we get an idea of what the division's going to look like.
My understanding is there's not a lot of shared assets, so to speak, at least not hard assets, but, as far as,
That would be my suspicion as well. I can't imagine, it's not like a regional jail where each county is real hard assets involved in a regional jail. I think this really is going to come down to service providers and contracts with those providers.
The board has the authority, and I guess at this point, thankfully, they haven't exercised it, to actually build a facility that would then administer these services. They have, and I talked to the chair of that body yesterday. There are, as far as she was indicating to me, there are none that are really that. I mean, we're talking about computers and things at this point. Yeah. So we're talking about a really limited number of assets. Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I will henceforth refer to this as Plexit, for those of you who follow such things. Thank you for recognizing what I was going for there. So I am assuming that the state statute says, Mr. County Councilor, that they can terminate for convenience. I mean, this is essentially what this is, or does a reason have to be given, or was a reason given?
It doesn't even give that level of justification. It just says any county may leave, quite simply, yeah.
Well, I'll look forward to seeing what they gave to that.
And maybe on that, and I apologize.
Sure.
It's a fairly involved resolution. Or they call it an order. There is no real justification or explanation. There's no why in here. It just says, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's why we can do it under the statute. They actually quote the statute in some detail, but there's no why. There's no because we feel like we're not getting this, or we think we can do better on our own. There's nothing like that.
So our assumption at this point is they've made the decision for whatever reason they've made it. There is no issue. There is nothing to cure to stop that. So,
yeah.
Okay.
It was unanimous. I mean, the 3 commissioners.
Okay. I will enjoy this 2-year discussion on Plexit. Thank you.
Commissioner Withington.
So we still have not seen that email that Presiding Commissioner Fricker sent to you. I had hoped that maybe you would have sent that to us before this discussion. But anyway, He never told you why he was going to pull out?
We had some discussions, so yeah, I can give you some of the verbal
Because it's my
exchange.
understanding that this was due to Platte County's population growing. We had 6 board members, they had 2, and Ray County had 1, and they asked Clay County to give up 1 board seat. I think everybody on this commission has said at one time or another how much they believe that we need to fight for and protect mental health care. I think this is a conversation that you should have brought to this commission prior to Platte County's decision, and maybe this commission could have had a discussion. I don't see any problem giving up 1 board seat if that's all Platte County had. I think that's failed. Jerry, I'm not trying to track. I'm not going to start a fight with you, but I think that's failed leadership on your part. This is something that everybody on this commission has said how I'm passionate about mental health care. I've made that point many times. I think you really dropped the ball on this. And again, I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm not trying to, I'm just being, Jerry, you can laugh all you want, but this is very serious. So don't laugh about this. You dropped the ball on this big time. Platte County could have, if we could have had a serious conversation and this whole commission would have been brought up to speed instead of you keeping things private, we may not be even having this conversation today in Platte County. I know for a fact that if we would have given them a seat, Platte County may not even have taken that vote this past Monday. So I think you really dropped the ball on this, and I think, I'm really disappointed in you, Jerry. I just want that to be said, okay? And 1 board seat, really 1 board seat, and you couldn't even share that information with this county or this county commission.
Actually, I did, not with the commission, but I did bring it up at the August Pro Tems meeting. Let me tell you now about what that entailed, that particular
How come your
argument.
pro tem shaking his head no?
I have no idea. So, but the thing is this, what was behind the rationale for Platte County to say we want another seat was that it was a population. This was not necessarily dollars at that point, although that also came up. This was not about dollars, this was about population comparisons. So what happened was they feel that we have a majority because of our population, a disproportionate majority, disproportionate number. Had we accepted the one thing, he mentioned that to me, and I said, okay, well, let's see where we go with that. That would have skewed, once you crunch the numbers, that would have skewed it to where then Clay County would have had a disadvantage proportionately as far as population goes. What I said was, well, if we increased it by 2, 1 for you, 1 for us, that would have allowed us to have had a parity on population to representation on the board.
Who are you to make that decision?
I did not make that decision. I
But you
made that
didn't bring it to us
suggestion.
to even have a discussion.
That was where we went, and they just walked away from it at that point.
Well, I would too. You had an obligation to come to this commission and talk to us, but you chose to keep that to yourself.
The other issue was, of course, dollars. That was something else that they were concerned about. The ratio of dollars being spent. Where I thought we were at was we talked about it. I said, look, we've got 3 new members on the board. They had, I believe, 1 new member on the board. Why don't we see how I wanted to see how the board was going to react, and wanted to say, look, if as far as the money goes, they are right now in their budget talks. So I said, let's see how you come out in the budget. If you think you're getting not your fair share, okay, well, we have new members, so we're going to see different approaches to budget. That was where it was left. It was not that they were getting ready to leave, but that was where as far as I knew it was left was, okay, well, we talked a little bit. They weren't going to do anything except just, see how the budget process went out. So I figured, okay, let's see how that goes out. Maybe these issues will go away.
So for 3 years, what's the biggest criticism this commission has given to you? That you don't share information with us, that you keep things to yourself. This is something that this commission has said many times that they care very deeply about is mental health. You dropped the ball. You should have communicated to all of us. This discussion should have happened weeks ago, if not, you've sat on this email for over a month maybe. I can't remember what the date was. It's been a month or more. You dropped the ball on this. I don't know how many more times every commissioner up, well, maybe not one, but every commissioner up here has said that you don't communicate with us, you don't share information with us, and now, Jerry, we're having a discussion after the fact because you refuse to share information. That's not a leader. That is not a leader. You are supposed to be the team captain as the presiding commissioner, and you are not doing that. And I just don't know how many more times are you going to do this? You have 1 year left if you don't run again, and are we going to have to deal with this continuously? For 3 years, this commission has told you, share information with us. For 3 years, you've refused, and now here we are having these discussions because you refuse to talk to us. I'm disappointed in you, Jerry. And I'd be disappointed in myself if I were you.
Commissioner Lawson.
I feel as though this is something that we should have found out about a long time ago. If it were brought up, did you say it was brought up in your meeting that you have with the pro tem and okay.
The August meeting, specifically the idea of membership breakdown.
Okay, see, that's the thing. That's something that I've always had a problem with, a little bit of a problem with, is that you have this meeting with the pro tem and our administrator. Now, none of that, for the most part, is shared with us. This is something that the minute that letter came in, Jerry, we should have known about it and we should have discussed it here in open court. Everybody should have had their say. It is no different than us asking the EDC for another seat on the executive committee, than them asking us for another seat on the health board. I would have had no problem telling them, yeah, go ahead, give them another seat. What real difference would it have made? And it probably would have, with conversation between us, and maybe even a conversation between us and them, to sit down and say, let's come to an agreement where everybody's happy. But we've never had that chance. That information wasn't shared with us. And it is true, Jerry, that, and I'm not trying to be unkind, but Jason is correct. So many times we have said, you're the presiding, it carries some responsibility with it, but we've all been equally elected. And I cover the entire county, as does Jason. So this should have been brought before everybody. Everybody should have had their input into this. We should have gone to them and discussed it openly with them. This has kind of been a mess. Now they're gone. We talk about working with Platte County and how we can make the county stronger. We even had this thing about the Northland and, pulling together to make next year's event better and acting as a team. And then we kick them in the teeth. So I'm sorry, but I think this is something that should have been brought to all of us, and we should have all had the opportunity to have some input on this. Not just you. You are 1 out of 7. You have no more power than I do or Jason or anybody else. And I'm tired of getting stuff kept behind our backs and done without being very inclusive in everything that's brought to you. And I'd like to see that change a lot in the future.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, yeah. First of all, when you mentioned about a meeting that we had that we discussed, I don't remember anything about a discussion with this. And I don't know, maybe the administrator could talk more, but I don't remember anything. So this is kind of new for me that I'm hearing that, from what I understand, that Platte County is backing out mainly because they didn't get a seat that they wanted on that board. Now, if that's the case, my question is, who decides who's on that board? Who decides the makeup of that board?
Each commission has the authority over a certain number of seats on the board. So we have our portion, Platte County appoints their portion, and then Ray has its member. So those are votes of their commissions to appoint those members, like most other boards.
But who decides how many from each county is on the board?
That was put together by us, but that is a proportionate function.
Okay, so but if somebody wants to change that dynamic, that number on the board, who makes that decision to change that?
That would have to be a decision of, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr., or you already...
My assumption is, there's a contract between the three entities that was done in 1981. It's probably been amended over the years. I would be shocked if the distribution is not addressed in that, and that's where it would come in, and it would be a matter of changing that agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would certainly, it is disappointing if in fact, if the facts are that they're leaving because they didn't get a position on the board that they wanted, and maybe they wouldn't have gotten it anyway, but if that happened without any discussion amongst either us or Ray County as well, to make that determination, that's not a good thing. That's just not a good thing. There should have been better communication. I'm a firm believer, and Commissioner Withington talks about mental illness and being in law enforcement. I will tell you, I think one of the biggest failures in our society in general is how we deal with the mentally ill. I think that's one of the biggest failures we have. It's one of the most the toughest nuts to crack, but it's just the biggest failure we have. I don't know that I have the solution for it, but we failed, definitely failed. And so, to me, something like this is very, very, very important. And I don't know what the answer is here, but I certainly think we need to re-engage Platte and find out what exactly it is, why they want to leave, and what it would take to keep them to stay, because I think mental health and those issues surrounding mental health need to be broadened. And again, I don't know the solution for it, but if this is, we're just now hearing about they're leaving and they want to leave because of they didn't get what they wanted. Well, they never asked us for it. They never asked 6 of us for it. Apparently they asked you and you didn't let us know that. It's like, we can't operate like that. We just cannot operate like that. And I'm assuming that when he spoke with you, he thought that it was shared with us, Commissioner Withington. Was that the understanding?
Hold on a sec.
I'm sorry.
Oh, excuse me, let me get, darn. Sorry, Commissioner. There you are, good, your mic is on. Go ahead.
So I think they assumed that it was. I was approached by a commissioner who said, Presiding Commissioner Fricker sent an email to Presiding Commissioner Nolte a month ago. Have you seen it? Or has it been shared with you? And I said, what email? And what's it about? And he said, you haven't seen it? It was a month ago. And I said, no, Jerry doesn't usually share anything with the whole commission. They were surprised that it had not been shared with us.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we need to, re-engage with some communication there. And luckily, it's a long process for them to back out, so hopefully we can figure things out. And if they ultimately want to back out, that's fine, but we need to have, I think, conversations with them about that.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I'm going to start off with, whenever you have politicians having a conversation, it is a political conversation. And I am deeply concerned when nothing has been said as to the purpose and the way that things are done by that shared group. And it's really more about, we just want more seats on a board, then that's a political discussion. It is not about the function of this organization. It is not about how it does business. Perhaps, as the county councilor has mentioned before, maybe it is about contracts. But it would seem to me that if this is a real conversation and there is a desire on Platte County's part to do something as to how this board functions, that is a conversation that should have been done when their board meets and discusses how they operate. If I am to understand, there is nothing that reflects that. If it is something that is a serious matter as to how it functions, then it would seem to me that there would be a directive to its county administrator to contact us to say that there is a problem. I won't absolve everyone's sins because it is what it is, and everyone has whatever they feel as it pertains to how a communication was done. But it does strike me that you're telling me that there's only been one communication, maybe a second if you wish to point out the conversation that was had with Commissioner Withington, and there's been no conversation in that board that has all three counties represented, that there's not been a directive made for an attempt by Platte County to have a conversation with our staff about this. All we have is one day we voted on a resolution to say we're out of here. Come on. I'm going to suggest an action because I think if we're going to take this seriously and we want to really find out what's going on here, I would like to direct our county administrator to reach out to Mr. Minder and ask him, what is it you want? What is the problem? I want to take the politicians out of this discussion and get to what the real issue is. Is it how this group operates? Or is it really, we just want another board seat? And at that point, and I believe the county councilor is correct, this is a shared contract. If we wanted to do things differently with seats, we would all have to agree to do that. And maybe that makes Plexit go away, because I'm going to continue to use that until it's done. But however it got here, fine, whatever. I would also just point out, though, if we are going to say to one that they have acted in a manner that is inconsistent with what the body wants, and the rest of the body should act in the way that it wants, that how it should be reflected. And as we have talked about from time to time, sometimes people know things, sometimes we don't. I'll set that one aside for the moment. But the matter at hand is, in my opinion, what is it that Platte County wants and why do they want it? And I would like to introduce that conversation in such a way that our staff can come back and our county councilor can come back and give us good data, good information that can actually lead to whether or not we've got an issue or we don't, and how do we resolve that. So thank you very much.
Commissioner Lawson.
Well, here's the bottom line. You're right, 100%, except that they did have communication with us over a month ago. If that had been done properly and been shared with the commission, then maybe we could have had directed our county administrator to reach out to them and ask them, do you feel, I'll ask our counselor, do you feel that there is a way that we might be able to save this with meeting and conversation?
Well, I'll preface it by saying I've had no conversation, so I don't know. But let's assume that some of what we're talking about is true. Yeah, this is a resolution that's doing nothing for the better part of 2 years. It could be undone at any moment should they choose to. I mean, that would be, I mean, they have, thrown the first volley. They need to recall that if they want to, and they may want to do that based on negotiation and discussion. But yeah, there's nothing at this moment that can't be undone.
Okay, and that's the thing. If we had known a month ago that this was happening, then we could have given direction to whomever to bring this all together and have a intelligent conversation about why do you want this extra seat? Deal with the board itself and say, do you know the reasoning for why we're doing this? But the way that it was handled, and one person made that decision without including the entire commission, and I don't feel that that's political. I think every one of us represents this county, and we're trying to do what's for the good of the county, and that mental health board is something I think is vitally important in today's world. And so I would have liked to had an open conversation. Why do you feel the way you feel? What can we do to correct it? And I really would like to go back and try to have that conversation with them and see if there, you know, as Commissioner Wagner said, see if there's something that we can do to correct it. But let's include the entire commission when we make that conversation. So,
Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. First, just want to say strongly agree with, in terms of next steps, Commissioner Wagner's suggestions of what we ought to do next. One addition, I guess I'll suggest, is to involve at least one politician in the process, which is our very capable county auditor. Would just love to, you know, if he's willing, obviously, to have some kind of multi-year analysis done in terms of how the numbers do or do not tend to add up. So that's both at the population level with the board seats, as well as whatever the distribution of funds has been over the last few years. You know, is there any there with regard to disparities between the counties? I think that would be helpful as a starting place too. Assuming Platte County, you know, we reach out and Platte County is open to conversation and potentially working things out. It'd be nice to have the numbers to sort of know where we're at with all that. Thanks.
Further comments? Further discussion? Yes, Mr. Auditor.
Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Yes, I just wanted to follow up from that suggestion from Commissioner Carpenter and was brought up earlier as well. I think I would be willing to do that. Absolutely. I think it's important to have some of the support of this commission as well as the board, the mental health board. And I think there, in the discussions I've had, I think there is interest in looking at that. And that could be a potential way to help present a solution to this situation. I think that is a potential concern that Platte County has brought up, that they don't feel that they are getting adequate financial information. And so, you know, we can take a look at that. And also, not to necessarily, you know, bring a false light or opinion to the mental health board, but also suggest ways for improvements, procedures that can be put in place so that we kind of prevent this from happening again, right? So yes, see certainly where we have been, where we are, and then can also work with, you know, with county administrator, with the Platte County Auditor. I know very well Kevin Robinson, and then with the mental health board, their staff. I think that's something I've even drawn up an idea. So I've been back here listening to the discussion, because I think what I want to be careful to do is really define what are those objectives. And we heard some of those objectives so that I can really narrow the scope, looking at what has been the population share for the board membership, what has been the financial distribution, what is it supposed to be, and then really just make some you know, suggestions and findings from there. So I'm, you know, looking at my workload. I think the fourth quarter is a decent time to start. And so you could see, you know, depending on cooperation from staff, this could be available as soon as early 2026. So I think that's something that might help everyone, you know, potentially keep this board together if Platte County were to see that information. And what, as well as look at, you know, what is the impact if they are to leave and stay leaving? You know, what does that mean for the effort overall? So I just offer that. I'm happy to answer any questions to that effect. I don't know that, I think just because we appoint a majority of the board members, because we have a property tax levy that technically this commission actually sets, they give us a you know, recommendation, but then we actually approve it. I think there is authorization for the Clay County Auditor to do this audit. But for this body, the one who appoints those board members, to also have the support for a county audit, along with the board, mental health board as well, I think that's going to help me with any questions as to access to records and financial history. So I would strongly encourage that we have that if we go down this path. And that's why I've said again why I think, you know, why I've really pushed for the county auditor having, you know, more written authorizations in state statute This one is a little different with a multi-county board, but again, I think with this one in particular, I think there are good grounds for it.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I appreciate those comments, and again, that's why it seems to me the first course of action is having the administrator reach out to Platte County to understand what is the issue or set of issues, which in that case, if it is, to the auditor's point, an issue of finance and how that finance is applied, then that would seem to me to be a reason why not only would we suggest that the auditor move forward in the way that he has suggested, but also to convey through this commission a communication to that board that we wish for that to happen. And therefore hopefully give the reason why our folks on that board would agree to give that information over to the auditor. So again, it starts, in my opinion, with that communication that then can activate those things. But I think, Mr. Auditor, you make excellent points, and I think especially if this is part of the issue, that letting you have access becomes very appropriate. So appreciate those comments.
Okay. Mr. Administrator, then, do you feel comfortable with what's being contemplated for you to step forward?
Very much so. I'll reach out tomorrow to Platte County and then follow back up with the report, and I'll work with Victor regarding the next steps regarding that, if necessary.
Very good.
But I'll be following back up with you all regarding that.
Anything before we close the discussion then? Seeing none. Okay, so that concludes that discussion item. That brings us to reports. Mr. Administrator, we have something from there.
You actually have the information before you as Auditor's Cash Basis Monthly Report for August of 2025.
Yep.
Auditor's here for any questions you may have regarding that.
Very good. That brings us to County Administrator comments.
I have one comment tonight. We have the 36th Annual Lake Cleanup Day on September 20th, which will be not this Saturday, but next Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So I'm more than welcome to come to help out with Smithfield Lake Cleanup, 36th Annual.
Okay. That brings us to Commissioner comments. Commissioner Withington, we'll start with you if you don't mind. Proceed.
I want to start by saying happy birthday to Captain Amy Agarian. Won't tell everybody how old she is, but happy birthday. And then I just want to say congratulations to John and Jay. They were right about the score of the Chiefs game last week. And I'm too scared to ask them who's going to win this week, the Eagles or the Chiefs. So we haven't had that conversation, but I'm sure they're rooting for the Eagles.
Commissioner Lawson.
I just wanted to say, let's never forget 911, or 9/11, I should say. And I'd like to say that I hope that our good Lord is with Charlie Kirk and his family. Sad that we have to have something like that happen in this wonderful United States, but so just remembering him as well.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I was thinking about saying these comments earlier during the ceremonial matters, but I'm just going to do it now. And I hope everyone appreciates or understands the spirit that I'm trying to suggest with it. This is an interesting last 24 hours with both the remembrance for those who perished during 9/11 as well as the assassination, because that's what it was yesterday with Mr. Kirk. It strikes me, though, that these are events that come and then they go, and we remember, but I don't know if the lesson that's in there is fully appreciated. And what I mean by that is I, like everyone else, remember exactly where I was during 9/11. I remember watching that second plane going into the tower. I remember the smoke that was coming off of the Pentagon. And actually, my wife is in D.C. today with the Northland Chamber. And so, I especially think about that. But I also remember what happened after that. I also remember this nation coming together in a way that I had not seen, and this is for some of us aging ourselves a little bit more, after Desert Storm or during Desert Storm. And that was one where it did not matter if you were Democrat, Republican, if you were conservative or liberal, it didn't matter. You were thinking about your country, just as it happened December 7th, 1941. Everyone got together and you were with your country. And even more importantly, there were a number of photos that some of you may recall when ships coming from other countries coming into New York Harbor saluted as they were coming in. And again, going back to Desert Storm, that was a number of countries working with this one to fight tyranny, to fight fascism, so on and so forth. And then I think about what happened yesterday. And then I think about just a few months ago what happened in Minnesota. And then I go back to thinking about what happened on the doorstep of Nancy Pelosi's house. And then I go back to what happened last year when then candidate Trump was almost assassinated himself. And the difference in the tenor between those episodes and what happened in 9/11 and Desert Storm and at Pearl Harbor are markedly different. And that scares the heck out of me. Because if all we do is remember those who have perished and we don't think about what that means and what that should mean to us as a country, then the country is halfway lost, in my opinion. Because at the end of the day, if we cannot define for ourselves who is American, and some are better Americans than others, then I guarantee you there are no Americans. There are none. Because you will never have a united country. Whether you agree with Mr. Kirk and how he conducted his business doesn't really matter to me. Whether you agree with how this president, how Nancy Pelosi, how the good Democratic senators in Minnesota conducted themselves doesn't really matter to me either. What does matter to me is that they are all fellow Americans. And that's where there's a difference between what you had at 9/11 and today is so different from what you had before 9/11. And that is the way we talk to ourselves and how we go and join the chatbots apparently on social media to talk about the other person. Back in the day, the enemy seemed to be outside this country. Now the enemy seems to be among us in this room. That's crazy and nuts. And so, in my opinion though, that all starts with how we talk about and to one another. Because when you start talking about someone as the enemy, pretty soon someone believes it, and pretty soon they take action, and you get what you got yesterday. I don't blame any, in all of this, I don't blame any individual Democrat, Republican, any individual conservative or liberal. I blame everybody. Because you feed the beast, and the beast is always hungry, and it took a bite yesterday. So I suggest to all of us, and anybody watching, and anybody who cares to watch this again, watch how you use language, because it matters. Whether it's bullying on social media or someone inciting an action to take a life yesterday, and we'll see once that person is captured what prompted it. But if I were a betting man, I would bet rhetoric and speech from wherever led us down a road that resulted in yesterday. And I would hope that we can do better so that, I won't even say if, when this happens again, and it will, because it's hard to pull that back after all these years. When that happens, I hope that we think a little bit more about what we're saying, that we do not look at the other as the enemy, and that we remember we are all in one country, and that we support it and love it and want to see it better. Thank you.
Yeah, so strongly agree with all of that. And I think it needs to keep being said over and over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it. in fact, the last time I did do that here at this body, which I've done a bunch of times, was June the 12th, which was literally the day before that psychopath put on his fake police costume and began knocking on the doors of elected officials in the middle of the night so he could murder them. And I am concerned, have been concerned for years now about how far out of hand this thing has gotten with regard to how people speak about each other, how they view each other, and the extent to which people seem to hate each other. And we have to step back from that precipice. We must. What I know for sure is that any particular statute one works on, or ordinance one works on, or a line item in a budget one achieves, in the grand scheme of time, is nothing compared to preserving the republic, to handing the baton of civilization successfully to the next generation. Generations before us did it over and over and over again in this country. We certainly can too. But what I would encourage folks to be cautious about is some sense that inertia alone is going to guarantee that outcome. There's no guarantee of a positive, beautiful future for this country and for democracy and freedom for our people. It can happen. I hope to God it does happen. But it's going to take real, intentional, day-to-day effort by everybody to put that into practice, the words that you said tonight into practice. And we must. Your children and your children's children are counting on you to preserve the republic. So let's do that together. Let's love each other. Let's work together. Let's solve problems, plan for the future together, and settle our differences in elections. That's what we do. We can do it. We must do it. It's not even really an option. The alternative is catastrophic. So I believe in us. I believe in this country, greatest country that's ever existed, the most important country that exists in the world today and in the history of the world, in my view. And it's an important job for us to not screw that up. So let's keep going. Thanks.
Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, thanks. I have a couple things. First of all, I agree with both my colleagues, well said. I just want to confirm, you don't actually remember where you were on December 7th, 1941, do you?
Hold on.
I believe I was a glint in my grandfather's eye at that time.
Okay, so confirm that.
But I do read a lot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think there's way too much division in this world. What's interesting, we can fight with each other, but we don't allow outsiders to come and fight with us. I think that's when we really band together. And unfortunately, there's too much infighting, particularly along political lines. In my personal belief, I think the more we become a godless country, that creates part of the issue. But that's another soapbox I can get on somewhere else. Nonetheless, along those lines, I want to remind all of my colleagues that there is a religious leaders and government leaders gathering this weekend, Saturday. I think you guys all got the email. If you didn't, I just resent it to you, so check your emails. But it's a great event. I'd encourage everyone to go. I was very glad that I went last time, and I actually made lifelong friends from that event. Today, I attended the first Zoological District Commission meeting. And I wanted to report back to you a couple things. First of all, I think I tackled the issue of reporting to you guys what the district does. I think you all got a package on your desk probably that was delivered last night. But you'll be getting, there'll be a system in place that you get something, at least a summary or some kind. Actually, if it's something different than what you saw on your desk, let me know, because we can work with that and figure it out. But at the end of the year, you'll get something, and we're also working on a way, per the statute, to push stuff out to the community on what we're doing, trying to be as transparent as possible with what we're doing with their tax dollars, because that's really what the statute asks us for. The statute asks for us to put it in the paper, the local newspaper, but I think in today's day and age, there's probably better ways to do that. So we're working on ways to do that. But the actions that we're taking today, I'll just give you a little, just a brief overview. The Zoological District financial position, we have in the checking account, if you will, in reserves about $35 million. We transferred about exactly $6 million today from the Zoological District to the Friends of the Zoo. And the reason for that transfer is outlined in more detail in a spreadsheet that you'll get in your email as well. So if you care to see the numbers, they'll be in your email as well. But that took place today, and wanted to report on that. And there was one more thing. I can't remember what it was. But I just want to make sure everyone understands that when Commissioner Withington talks about Commissioner Carpenter and I being anti-chiefs, he's lying through his teeth, okay? Just so you know, he's lying through his teeth. Somebody actually thought he was telling the truth and questioned us on it. But no, he's not. I mean, we were pretty psychic in I guess, determining that the Chargers would win. But no, we're Chiefs fans all the way.
Thank you again, and I agree with Commissioner Johnson and many of the other speakers that associate themselves with the comments of Commissioner Carpenter and Commissioner Wagner. I think those were extremely well said, and I believe said to where I could repeat them, but I don't think I can match your eloquence. So certainly thank you for what you said. Those are very heartfelt and I think needed to be heard sentiments. So thank you for that. Yes, certainly. Go right ahead. Hold on. Let me put on the mic.
One more thing I wanted to say. The 9/11 ceremony today out here, I attended that. It was a good ceremony. For those that missed it, actually Kelly's here. I know she was out there. But our presiding commissioner spoke, and I just want to acknowledge that I thought he did a pretty good job.
That's kind.
And represented us in his remarks today. So I just wanted to comment on that. I thought it was a great event. My wife actually went, and like she always does, when the bagpipes play and the bugler plays, she cries. She's been to too many police funerals with me before, but it was a very touching event, I thought, and I thought it was a good event. Thank you.
Thank you. And really, just on a very smaller scale, writing on the comments of you two gentlemen, and that is to say, I want to say once again, congratulations to Commissioner Johnson. He had his first meeting on the Zoological Board. I appreciate that you taking this job on. I appreciate your report. And I think the point that I would like to make on that is this. It was, there was some competition involved, if that's a fair word. But at the end of that process, Commissioner Johnson and I shook hands, and we are in agreement on going forward for what is best in the county. And I think it is, I would give a great deal of credit to Commissioner Johnson on that score, because sometimes people see us up here and we will be in debate, and sometimes those debates will get rather heated because we have beliefs in what we are saying. But I think it is important that we demonstrate, as that small incident demonstrated, that we can, I think, as a commission, come together on these things, as my two colleagues here had just mentioned. So in spite of strong disagreements and lively debate, I think that we can, as a group, come together and decide how to go forward in the best interest of the people. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.